My name's Scott Slucher, and I'm the Executive Director of the ICX Association. And ICX stands for Interactive Customer Experience. And what we do, our purpose for being, is simply to connect B2C brands with technology that elevates the customer experience. So how we do that is that we partner with our members to create and curate content. And that comes in the form of the symposium, which we just concluded here. We have a summit that we produce, so we do live events, we do virtual events, webinars, and then we also produce downloadable content that we host on our website. That can be research, case studies, white papers, infographics, commentary, opinion, pieces where people are just sharing their perspectives on what's going on in the industry. And then we also have a social platform on the site where brands and suppliers can kind of engage around topics and even create short-term work groups within a private walled garden to be able to work on some of these issues. And we're in this huge watershed moment right now, and the thing about being in a watershed moment is that typically in your life you don't have perspective of where you're at, on
right.
these crests of these waves. And so I think everybody kind of has a sense that we're in this gap. And so now everybody's just trying to make sense of what's the new normal. And so we're just trying to create space where those conversations can be had and relationships can be forged so that people can partner and find the way forward.
Immersive experience. Tell me what that represents. When we use that vocabulary, what does that mean?
Right. So immersive experiences it represents really hooking people emotionally, I think, and being able to create an experience where, there was an old saying with a friend of mine used to use, move people, move product. And so if you can engage somebody's emotions, touch their heart, as corny as that sounds, to me that's the key. And that's really the big opportunity for brick and mortar stores and locations, venues, is, Amazon can do what it's going to do, but it's not going to create an experience like Disney World or an Apple store can. Because when you walk in there, that is a unique experience, and when somebody engages you and helps you discover something, or like in the case of Shinola, which I mentioned yesterday, I'm just in love with that brand right now, and I love each time I go to a city where I know there's a Shinola store, I want to go in and see it, because I know each one is unique. And it's this curated experience that's celebrating American manufacturing. And each store does a slightly different take on that based on their geography, based on the product mix, and then the associates are kind of like the secret sauce. And so what they add to it by being able to interpret this brand themselves. And so I just love going into those stores and engaging with associates and hearing them tell that brand story. And so I think if more and more retailers were attuned to that and attuned to that unique opportunity and advantage that they have, we could see retail just totally revolutionized.
Well, I love the example of, it used to be you go to Hard Rock and get the shirt in
Right.
all the Hard Rock locations.
Right.
It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
is to see, it's a suspense of what would be different about this location versus
Right,
another.
and each Hard Rock would have different instruments on the wall, so it might be
Absolutely.
Hendrix here and John Lennon there, and so it's
And the fact that you can curate this content with
Yeah.
speed, so that if there's something that is happening, say the weather is happening or something, that the fact that Roberta talked about how that the individual produce manager could have a message you need.
That's right. So being able to personalize that, and then I think, in the case of the show, what we heard a couple of times is, we wanted to do that, and it was really delightful, and we could tell it was a neat experience, but we couldn't figure out, how do you put an ROI on it? How do I cost justify this when I have to go up the ladder back at home office and I have to tell people we want to do this in-window VR display, and I've got this penny pinching CFO that's blocking my path, or my CEO is a bean counter, and he's just kind of like, okay, what's in it for us? How's this gonna be a win for us? So being able to not just focus on the emotions, but to be able to quantify those emotions and to be able to make a provable case for how this is going to create lift, both in revenue and brand lift, that's the future, I think.
And it's definitely, once you have the equipment, the curation of the content that's going to go, and it's going to change more rapidly than, say, a TV ad that's a bigger investment.
Right.
So the ROI is going to eventually pay out. It's just capturing that long-term investment.
And you're going to be more nimble, I think. I heard one of the people when we were wrapping up here today say that, I asked her, I said, what was your big takeaway? And she said, with my clients, I realize now our cycle is really like a 6-month cycle is what we need to be talking in terms of. Now go back 10 years you never would think in that kind of a cycle. Your cycles are going to be much longer. You're going to be talking in years, not 6 months. I mean, you can't hardly get something ramped up used to in 6 months' time, right? So now we're talking about, and that, 3 months in, you're starting to have conversations about, okay, this thing's starting to, we're on the downhill slope here. We're getting old. We got to start, talking about reinvention and how we going to pivot on that, and what's that going to look like on the next iteration. So it's just a whole new kind of toolbox, that people just need to get used to using. You don't think about using a hammer or a screwdriver because we've done it for so long, but now we got a new set of tools that we got to get comfortable with using. So.
I think the new set of tools is then going to allow us to also measure that emotional experience.
Right.